Okay, let us start today's session. We'll see some illustrations. Let us say this Young's double slit experiment is there, and you have two rays. Okay, these two rays have amplitude A0 and intensity I0. And given the question is, you have to find a resultant amplitude, resultant I0 for when the phase difference is 60 degree. This is first question, and second question is when path difference is lambda by 3. So this is the question you have to solve. Now this slit is giving you amplitude A0, and this is also giving you amplitude A0. So how to find the resultant amplitude? A is equal to, let us say the resultant amplitude is A. So A is equal to A0 square plus A0 square, A1 square plus A2 square plus 2A1 A2 cos phi. Alright? 2A1 A2 cos phi. Now, here this phi is the phase difference. This phi is the phase difference. Just a minute. Just a minute. So let us just move on. So this is phase difference. Phase difference is given as 60 degrees. So this will become A0 square plus A0 square. This will be 2A0 square. This is 2A0 square plus A0, it is 2A0 square into cos 60. Cos 60 is how much? Sin 30? 1 by 2. Okay. So this becomes A0 square by 2 means this is 1. This is root over. I think in the question actually it is not 60 degree, it is 120 degree. Okay, because the answer will not match. It is 120 degree. What is cos 120? Cos 120 is minus half. Alright. Just to match and what is given in the book. Okay. It is phase difference is 120 degrees. Cos 120 is minus half. So this is 2 minus 1. It is root over A0 square. Okay. So even the resultant amplitude is A0. What about intensity? What is the equation for intensity? See, here when we talk about intensity, in the question he is talking about constructive interference. So if it is constructive interference, it is root over I is equal to root over I0 plus root over I0. Remember, for constructive interference, root over I is equal to root over I0 plus root over I0, which is root over I is equal to 2 root over I0. So I will be equal to 4 I0. Okay. And what is the relationship between amplitude and the intensity? Amplitude and intensity. I is proportional to A square. I is proportional to A square. This is the relationship we have. Okay. So if you want to find out the, just a minute. Okay. So this is the relationship. And what was the expression? See, the first question is you have to find out the amplitude, resultant amplitude. Then you have to find out the resultant intensity also. So just note on this. I will remove it. Amplitude is clear now. It's pretty straight. This is the relationship for, this is the general relationship, okay? Cos square 5 by 2 will be 1 for the case of maximum, then I becomes 4i0. This I have shown in the previous decimal, that root over I is equal to root over I1 plus I2, that is for the maximum case. And for the minimum case, root over I is equal to root over I1 minus root over I2. So this is the general expression. So here 5 is given as 120. So 5 by 2 will become 60. So this will become 4i0 into cos square 60. So it is 4i0 cos 60 to sin 30, 1 by 2, 1 by 4 it will be. This is i0. Okay. So this is for the first part. In the second part, he has given you the path difference. Okay. Now, can this path difference be converted into phase? Just note down this. So this is what's happening. We have discussed that if there is 2 pi radians, it corresponds to lambda length, lambda path difference. Isn't it? Many times we have discussed this point. So if it is lambda by 3, what will be delta x? So let's cross multiply. So we just cross multiply this into this, 2 pi into lambda by 3, okay, divided by lambda. Isn't it? Delta x into lambda will become. So lambda will go that side. So this has gone. So this is how much? 2 pi by 3. 2 pi by 3 means 2 into 60, 120 degrees. Okay. So now we have converted this path difference into phase difference, equivalent phase difference. So once you have obtained this value of 120, it is just as good as the previous question. Okay. So this is how this question has to be attempted. So let's see one more. Actually 3 waves are given. Let us say this is wave 1, wave 2 and wave 3. Okay. Now wave 1 is 60 degree behind. The phase difference between wave 2 and wave 1 is given as 60 degree. Okay. And between wave 3 and wave 1, the path difference is lambda by 3. Between wave 1 and 3, path difference is lambda by 3. This is what is given. And they are asking you to find out all waves are of equal intensities, equal amplitudes. This is A0, this is A0 and this is A0. Alright. So we have to find this. And what is the condition given? So if you see this diagram, so wave 3 is ahead of wave 2 and wave 2 is ahead of wave 1. You should interpret this data like this. So you have to find the resultant. So what you need to do is, this path difference you have to convert into phase difference. This we have done in the previous question. For lambda by 3, how much you got? For 2 pi it is lambda. So for lambda by 3, how much? So we have calculated this. You call it delta x. So delta x is equal to just So delta x is equal to 2 pi into lambda by 3, 1 by lambda. It is 2 pi by 2, which is 120 degrees. So this is 120 degrees ahead. Okay. So how to do this? You can take these two and find the resultant. You can take 3 and 2. It will look like this, no? 3 will look like this, 2 is like this. Alright. You can find the resultant of these two. Once you get that resultant, you can use that and the first one to find the final resultant. It is like reducing 3 into 2 and then 2 into 1. There are 3 waves are there. You are reducing into 2, then you are reducing into 1. So what is the, you see here, both are of equal amplitude. This is your x-axis, right? Both are of equal amplitude. This angle is 60 degree. Why? Because this is 60, total is 120. So this gap will be 60. Because both are similar waves, identical waves, the resultant will go through the angular bisector. Okay? This concept you can memorize. You can put that parallelogram, root over p square plus q square plus 2pq cos theta and all that, and you can verify. That is how it is now. Suppose there are two perpendicular are there. That is the resultant going. If they are both equal, it is going at 45. 45 is the angular bisector of 90. So similarly here it will go through the 30. So what will be the resultant amplitude? You need to put that. Now here understand that you are taking this as a reference line. Okay. This has become kind of x-axis. So you are taking this angle 60. So what is the resultant? Like I said, that resultant is a dash. So it is root over a0 square plus a0 square plus 2 a1 a2. So it is a0 square into cos theta. Cos theta is 60 here, which is half. How much you got? A0 a0, you got 2 a0 and 3 a0 you got. A dash. Okay. So that means how much is a dash now? A dash is equal to it is root 3 a0. It is root 3 a0. So this is your a dash is root 3 a0. Then what you have to do? Once you draw this resultant means you can forget this and this. Only this is left and this is left. This is given as a0. So this problem reduces to, this is your a0 and see this is 30 degree, right? And this is 60 degree. So 60 plus 30, this must be 90 degree, right? So root 3 a0 is perpendicular to x-axis. So this is root 3 a0, right? And this is a0. So what is the resultant now? So this is 90. So p square plus q square plus 2pq cos theta, cos 90, that will become 0. What will be the resultant here? That is called as a double dash. A double dash will be equal to p square plus q square plus 2pq cos theta. Cos theta is cos 90. Just putting the steps so that all are able to follow. So this term becomes 0. So only this is left now. So what is this? Root 3 square. It is 3. 3 plus 1, 4. So it is root over 4 a0 square, or it is 2 a0. So a double dash is 2 a0. So in the question they have asked you the resultant amplitude. Okay. If they ask you the resultant, what you say, intensity, you know that intensity is proportional to amplitude square. I keep on saying this, why intensity is proportional to amplitude square. What was the equation? I'm just writing over here. It was 2a0 square cos square 5 by 2, isn't it? Once you take the resultant, we have done this one. You see that part. You see here 2 cos square 5 by 2, they are constant. I is proportional to a0 square. Okay, that is why when comparison purpose, we keep writing I is proportional to amplitude square. Once you get the amplitude value, square it, it is proportional to the I value. Remember this point very well. It is useful in many times while doing numericals. Okay. So let us move on to the next illustration. In a question, the ratio of amplitudes are given, and he is asking you what is the ratio of I max to I minimum. Okay, so this is the question. So how to proceed? See, can I write this as, see, we have discussed that I is proportional to A square. Can we write as root I is proportional to A? Okay, so here there are two amplitudes, so we can write it as root over I1 by root over I2 is equal to A1 by A2, isn't it? Now in the question they are asking you I max to I minimum. So when does I max come? In the case of maximum, in the case of maximum amplitude, in the case of constructive interference. So our expression was for I max, remember, root over I max is equal to root over I1 plus root over I2. Okay, and I have told you that this happens when cos phi becomes equal to 1. Okay, if you quickly want to recollect what we have done, those who want to understand from the basics part, see, A is equal to, we have written that A square is equal to A1 square plus A2 square plus 2A1 A2 cos phi. Remember, this was the basic equation. Now A square is proportional to I, the final I, the resultant I. Let us call it as resultant IR. IR, this is what? This is I1, this is I2, and we have discussed here root over I1, root over I2 cos phi. Where phi is the phase difference. Just we are recollecting what we have studied. So here, depending upon the cos phi value, this resultant intensity is decided. When you get maximum when the phase difference cos phi we are taking it as 1. Cos phi, when you took it as 1, you said it corresponds to I max, isn't it? And when cos phi becomes minus 1, we have taken it as I minimum, and we did the whole thing, and finally we got this expression for constructive part. Okay, so from here I max can be calculated. So can we write it as I max is equal to square of this, so root over I1 plus root over I2 whole square. Okay, now look here, root over I1 by I2 is given as A1 by A2, which is 3 by 5. This is 3 by 5. Okay, so we will what we will do is, if you, alright, keep it like this, because what are we interested? We are interested in I max by I minimum, right? So we will write I minimum also. In the case of I minimum, what will happen? This is root over I1 plus I2, it will become root over I1 minus I2. So this expression will become root over I1 minus root over I2 whole square. Okay, individually I am not bothered what is I1 and what is I2, because what are we interested here? Ratio is given, we will directly take the ratio over here. We will directly take the ratio, because our target is to find this value. We are not here to calculate what is I1 and what is I2. That is not asking the question. Okay, so depending upon the question, let us proceed. So here you call this as equation 1, you call this as equation 2. Equation 1 divided by equation 2, you will get I max divided by I minimum, isn't it? So this will become root over I1 plus I2 divided by root over I1 minus I2 whole square. Correct? Both are squares. So this is what you got. Now what you will do? Whenever you see like this, what is given in the question? Root over I1 by I2 is given. So divide the numerator and denominator by I2. Then you will get root over I1 by I2 plus 1 divided by root over I1 by I2 minus 1 whole square. Okay. So by doing this, what you will get? Root over I1 plus I2 is I1 by I2 is given as 3 by 5. So this will become 3 by 5 plus 1 whole square divided by 3 by 5 minus 1 whole square. Okay. So this is 8 by 5 and this is how much? 2 by 5. 8 by 5, 2 by 5. So 5 cancel, 8 by 2. 4 whole square. So it becomes 16. Okay. Now here I want to tell you that you no need to do only like this. This is one way of doing it. Okay, just write it down. The second method, I'll just give you the hint. You can just try. Easy it is. From here it is pure mathematics. See, you are saying that root over I1 by root over I2 is equal to 3 by 5. And you have to find out I max by I minimum. So here you have got an expression that it is root over I1 plus I2 divided by root over I1 minus I2 whole square. This is what you got. And this is what you have to crack. Okay. So you can call this as, now this ratio is equal to this ratio. Let's call it as it is equal to some constant. Alright. So can this equation be written like this? Root over I1 by 3 is equal to root over I2 by 5 is equal to k. You can write it as root over I1 is equal to 3k, root over I2 is equal to 5k. Simple. This is another approach. You can adopt whichever approach you are comfortable. I1 के प्लेस में इसको डाल दो बस सीधा. तो ये क्या हो जाएगा? 3k plus. Why I am taking like this? Because k in numerator and denominator at both places it will be cancelled. Okay, na? So 3k plus 5k, 3k minus 5k whole square. So 3 plus 5, 8k by this is 2k. 2 लिखो minus 2 लिखो क्या फर्क पड़ता है? वैसे भी स्क्वायर हो रहा है. ठीक है? This is 4 square. This is 16. Telling both ways, जिसको जैसा सिंपलर लगे वैसा आप लोग अडॉप्ट कर सकते हो. ठीक है. Let us see one more illustration. In some other question, let us say I max by I minimum is given, and they ask you to find out these three: A max by A minimum, A1 by A2, I1 by I2. So there are two waves are there whose intensities are I1 and I2, and whose amplitudes are A1 and A2, and these ratios you are supposed to find. मतलब ये उल्टा, previous question का उल्टा. कैसे करेंगे? How to do it? See, I max by I minimum is given as alpha, and you know that I is proportional to A square. बराबर. So can we write this as I max by I minimum is equal to A max by A minimum whole square? Can I write it like this? Is it possible? It is possible. Now what is A max? When there are two intensities, when there are two waves, and when there is a constructive interference, I told you that when there is a constructive interference, you need to add the amplitudes. You need to, A max will be what? It will be added up, I told you. Remember? And when it is destructive interference, you get A minimum. Amplitude कम हो जाता है, that is why the dark spot comes. No amplitude, zero amplitude, it becomes a dark spot. Alright? So A minimum will be equal to, I will write it as A1 difference A2. कभी A1 ज़्यादा हो सकता है, कभी A2 ज़्यादा हो सकता है. You know, it is basically A1 difference of A2. Remember this way that when it is destructive, you have to take the difference. When it is constructive, you have to add. तो यहाँ वो लगा. So it is A1 plus A2 whole square by A1 minus A2 whole square. इसका ये मतलब है, इसका ये मतलब है. पहले क्वेश्चन में क्या पूछा है? A max by A minimum. तो I max by I minimum is given as alpha. I will use these two. Alpha is equal to A max by A minimum whole square. So what is a max by a minimum? Root alpha. तो पहले क्वेश्चन का आंसर क्या हो गया? रूट अल्फा. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन a1 by a2 he is asking you. इसको और इसको यूज करो, इसको और इसको यूज करो. तो i max by i minimum is alpha. ठीक है, अल्फा इज इक्वल टू a1 plus a2 by a1 minus a2 whole square, right? So this becomes root alpha is equal to a1 plus a2 by a1 minus a2. क्या पूछा है सवाल में? a1 by a2. Divide numerator and denominator by a1, a2, because we want a1 by a2. So this becomes root alpha is equal to a1 by a2 plus 1 and a2 by a1 by a2 minus 1. What I have done? Numerator denominator I have divided by a2. अगर a2 by a1 पूछा होता तो मुझे a1 से डिवाइड करना पड़ता. These are simple mathematics. You can do whichever way you wish. Okay. a1 by a2 हमें निकालना है. उसको कुछ मान लो, उसको कुछ अननोन x मान लो. It is x plus 1 by x minus 1. ठीक है, a1 by a2 is the unknown here. That is what we are trying to find out. It is equal to root alpha. You can apply component or dividend and all this basic arithmetic, and you can find the value of x. Okay, how to find this now? So multiply the simple method, root a into x minus root alpha. Sorry, this is alpha. Root alpha into x minus root alpha is equal to x plus 1. Because x is the unknown, take x this side, it becomes root alpha minus 1 into x. Take root alpha that side, it is root alpha 1 plus root alpha. Okay, now we want x, so x is equal to root alpha plus 1 by root alpha minus 1. So this is what is your a1 by a2. ठीक है, a1 by a2 पता है, you can find out i1 by i2. How? You know that a1 square by a2 square will be equal to i1 by i2. ठीक है, ये वाला लॉजिक लगा सकते. So you know a1 by a2 यहाँ निकाल लिया, तो क्या हो जाएगा? i1 by i2 will be equal to root over alpha plus 1 divided by root alpha minus 1 whole square. Okay, so this is how you can approach. We will see some more miracles. Okay, some more concepts. So adopt this approach. Meet in the next class. Take care. Bye bye.